to The Break Room, the podcast where the best work convos happen. We're joined today by your hosts, including workplace psychologist Ben,
Hi.
your favorite Gen Z colleague Jhea,
Hello.
and your podcast producer Isle. That's myself. Today's episode, we'll be talking about unbossing. It's a very new concept, very new topic. And so, unbossing is a term used to describe how more and more employees, especially Gen Z, are rejecting traditional leadership and management roles. Instead of climbing the corporate ladder, they're choosing career paths with less stress, more balance, and greater autonomy. A recent study found that nearly 50% of Gen Z professionals say they don't want to move into middle management jobs. Why? Because they see these roles as high stress and low reward. Many say that mental toll of managing people and being caught between senior leaders and junior staff just isn't worth it. So the question today is unbossing the death of hustle culture, or is it the birth of a healthier way to work? I think we're discussing a lot of existing topics already that are kind of meshed into this one topic. And so there's a lot to unpack here. Let's kick it off with a roundtable question for everybody. When you hear the term unbossing, what comes to mind? Does it sound like something you would do? Jaya, what are your thoughts?
Well, for me, when the first time I hear the word unbossing, my mind kind of goes blank because I don't know, is that even a word? I've never heard that word before. So that term is definitely new to me and I had no idea. But if I try to make sense of it, my initial thought was I thought it would sound like two things. Either you're unbossing someone, like getting someone demoted or stepping them down from a leadership role, which doesn't really sound nice. Or maybe it's about unbossing yourself, in which you are choosing not to take on the traditional boss role at all. And yeah, based on what you shared, it is the latter. And I think I kind of get the appeal, especially with the different work setup now with on-site, online, or work from home setup. There's more opportunities for the workers. And so with these different opportunities, it also had different setup where other people doesn't feel the need to be a boss or leading a team. And so if it's the second one, I think I kind of get the appeal because ultimately it just depends on your priorities and where you are in your life stage. So that's my take.
Yeah. Similarly, I also didn't know what it meant at first, but after watching a video about unbossing, I quickly understood it. It kind of seems like it's all related to the anti-hustle movement or kind of working freelance or working as a digital nomad to avoid the stress of a 9 to 5. So it has a very similar concept to that. In terms of it, would it be something that I would do? I'm not quite sure. That was part of the roundtable question is would it be something that you would do? I've never really thought of myself in a leadership position, so I wouldn't really know. It's all in theory compared to if you're actually doing it. So I'm not quite sure. What are your thoughts, Ben?
So it's so illuminating because I have no clue what unbossing is all about. At first, I was thinking that it is the reverse of what being bossy and bossing around means. And so I thought it's unbossing is a person that is not bossy and empathetic. But clearly, I'm so wrong. And listening to the term about unboxing, not unboxing, see, unbossing. So yeah, I don't really have anything else to add. And would I do it? Yeah, I'll kind of look at it from a different perspective, you know.
Yeah, thanks for your thoughts, guys. It's a quite an interesting topic that many of us aren't actually or very aware of. But let's zoom out for a minute and take a look at this concept from a psychological sense. So, Ben, our workplace psychologist in the episode, is going to help us understand what's really going on in the human brain psychologically when it comes to hustle culture and leadership, because those are the pillars that are kind of connected to the term unbossing. And so, Ben, is rejecting management roles a sign of healthier work life mindset, or could it limit personal growth? What are your thoughts?
You know, if you have been following us for a long time, you would know that the psychologist's view is so boring because it always starts with depends. And depends because all of us are so dynamic and all of us are so different. And the context and environment of which we are put in sometimes will determine how we respond and we react. And from that point of view, when I look at the rejection of management roles, I think let us focus on the individual, right? The individual person. And I think we are made up of a few dimensions. And the first dimension is our potential. Potential refers to what is our aptitude, what is our like potential of achieving something. And the second one is like the culture that we are in, the environment that we are put in, and whether the environment is something that nurtures us, that allows us to grow and to develop, or it is a culture where we feel that it's so cutthroat and I need to look over my back all the time because I'm not sure when I'm going to get stabbed in the back. And then the third part is our desire, right? Because all of us have different degrees of ambitions, different degrees of desire, different degrees of what success means for me and what I would like to achieve for me in my life. And then the fourth part is competencies, our skills. What do we come with? So potential, culture, desire, and competencies. So when we look at this dimension for the individual, and we look at your question, is rejecting management role a sign of healthier work-life mindset, or is it a limit to personal growth? I think if the person's desire is to find harmony and is to find balance, is to find integration in all the areas of their life where work becomes just one aspect and not the all-consuming part, then I would say that is part of their personal growth, and maybe the culture that they are in, when we extend culture beyond workplace into their family and home environment, is one that supports this kind of thinking, then I think it is something that is positive. It is something that is good, right? However, if it is if rejecting is because of avoiding, right? Because there's potential and there's skills, but because the culture is one that is negative and the environment is one that they don't feel safe enough, then I think that avoidance becomes something that is negative because they are not stretching and they are not putting themselves up. And so I think that definitely is something that limits their own personal growth, So I think that is my perspective of that, right? Like knowing the different areas of potential, culture, desire, and competencies. What is the environment that we're in? What is it that we truly want? And when we know what we truly want, then we would know whether is it growth or is it limits to that. Yeah, so that's my long-winded view to that question.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Ben. Well, just to add, I'm also wondering because nowadays success is defined differently compared before. Or yeah, it's personal, right? It just depends on the person. And so I guess when it comes to success, people would think that success is climbing the corporate ladder or success is having like peace of mind. But I think the common denominator is people would tend to pressure ourselves into thinking that we should be perfect or we should please everyone. And so I would like to know, how can individuals rewire their thinking to pursue success without falling back into perfectionism or people pleasing, since it seems to be like the common mindset for everyone.
Yeah, and thanks, Jhea, for that. I really like when you talk about how success is different for different people. And I think that is the basis that we want to start off first, right? That all of us should have the ability to define what success means for me. And it could be influenced by what we know, what we see, what is expected of us. But we need to have the ability to define what success means for me. So from that context, right, that we are able to determine what success means for me and how do I make sure I don't become perfectionistic or please other people. I think it's important for us, first of all, to know that when we look at pursuit in our professional life, that management is different from leadership, right? Because management could be titles, but leadership is actions and leadership is what things that you do, because we can be leading ourselves, we can be influencing other people, and we may not have a title. So I think we need to start off with that, right? How am I leading myself? And um, because when I start to lead myself, when I start to influence myself, then it can expand out to start influencing other people. And so rewiring ourselves, right, to know um, whether are we kind of keeping to the positive aspect of things, or are we veering into the negative spectrum of things like people pleasing or perfectionism? I think it is important for us to understand what is the pattern, for us to zoom out and to observe ourselves, right? To have a level of awareness. Am I performing? Am I trying to prove something to other people? Or am I protecting myself? So performing, proving, or protecting, for us to at least have insight, have an awareness into what is the trend that I'm noticing myself. Because the the behavior will be very different. If I'm performing, I would experience achievement, right? If I'm proving, then I'll be people pleasing, right? If I'm protecting, then I'll be looking over my shoulder and seeing if I'm hurt or if people are hurting me. And then the next part is to reframe success, right? For us to define what success means for me. So does that success, or what I define as success, align with my personal values? Is it something that is important for me? Or is it just for optics? Because if I look good, if I start to wear fancy clothes, put on expensive watches, and carry nice bags and stuff like that, uh, that could be the optics from the exterior, right? People evaluation that, oh, maybe Jhea is successful. Oh, Al now drives a Harley Davidson, not a little bike anymore, right? So like that could be the optics. So does this align with my values? Is it really truly what is important for me? And the next part is to set boundaries, right? To start to know what are some of the things that energizes me and what are some of the things that drains me, right? And for us to start giving ourselves permission to say no to the things that drains us, and for us to continue to engage and to immerse ourselves in things that energizes us, right? So that our battery is not depleted. And finally, is to practice self-trust over approval seeking, right? For us to have a little bit of faith and confidence in ourselves to do those things. So I think that for me is how we can kind of rewire our thinking, and for us to make sure we operate in a positive side of things. Yeah. And, so that is my view, right? And, I hope that gives us a little bit to think about. But let us bring back to the present. And I am coming from the old man perspective, right? So I'm very curious to hear from our Gen Z colleagues, Al and Jhea. So maybe, like for me, I'm curious. Do you think ambition looks different now than it did for older generation like me and the people before me? Are we less ambitious now, or just ambitious about different things? Yeah, maybe Al, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. With this question, I think yes. I definitely think that ambition looks different now than it did before. Um, I think back then the traditional route was to climb the corporate ladder, build a family, work until you retire. And nowadays, I just feel like it's completely different. It's also based on what I see online, what I see with peers. And so more and more of my peers and people that I see online, like I mentioned, I see them not choosing to not have kids, choosing to not work in the corporate world, choosing to not buy a house. And then you see these trends of people buying a van and cross country driving around, or kind of booking trips to different countries and like building a business from their laptop. So I see a lot of trends doing those things, and it's completely different how it was back then. And I wouldn't say that we're less ambitious. I would say that we're just ambitious about different things, especially now that there's lots of avenues to express your creativity, express your passion. And so I guess like with time, technology, and just kind of having all these avenues being born, there's just so many ways for you to be ambitious, or so many ways for you to explore being ambitious, but it's in different things. It's not the traditional route that we often see with our parents or grandparents, even like with old movies. It's always like that. Yeah. So I think the ambition to work is there, but because I see so many people become entrepreneurs and figure out how to sustain their lifestyle while still being able to live a comfortable life. That's the common theme that I see with people nowadays. And so I think there's more importance now with living comfortably or living the life you want compared to chasing a career status, which was the traditional route back then. So I think the ambition is there. It's just we're ambitious about different things. And yeah, that's my whole take on it. What about you, Jia? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you with what you said. I think it's not a generational thing when you say that you are more ambitious or less ambitious. Sorry, ambitious. But I think we just define success differently now because for older generation, ambition would look like climbing the corporate ladder, staying in the company for decades, or getting that corner office. Like we've seen that in the show, like they would get that corner office and they would be so proud and feel so accomplished. But nowadays, it's not even a thing anymore. Like those who get a corner office would be like the top ranking, uh, like officers or like the leaders. And it's harder now because companies are bigger and there's more competition as well. And I think before, when it comes to the culture, people were more about working harder. But nowadays, people are leaning about working smarter. And so it just makes a big difference now because we have more opportunities. And as what Al said, there's more avenue for us to earn money and like have more opportunities. But I think overall for us, I think we're still driven, but our priorities just shifted. We want to explore, enjoy life, travel, maybe try different things and still build a meaningful career while we are at it. Because before the main like goal was to just like finish our studies, like graduate, get that job, and then after you find a partner, get married, and then build a family. But and everyone is just like it's like the blueprint, right? And then nowadays, if you don't get married yet, or if you don't have a get a kid yet, then the older people would keep questioning you, why are you not married yet? Why you don't have kids yet? It's because we have different priorities now, and we define success in different way. And when they would question why you still did not get that car or that house when you are already 30, and people are thinking that it's a competition. But I think we have our own successes, and not everyone feels the need to buy a house because they would need the liquidity so that that money would be like generating more money instead of throwing all that funds into a house or car, in which more people are more financially literate nowadays. So it's also different. So yeah, I guess it's more like nowadays it's ambition with balance and being more aware of what we need and our priorities.
So interesting. Ambition with balance. And, so far we've been talking about things that are in general, and I want to go a little bit deeper because I think both of you have kind of talked about it in different aspects. But I want to ask both of you a personal question. What does success look like to you if it's not tied to climbing the ladder? Like, in general, what does success look like to you?
Okay, maybe I can go first. Well, for me, when I was a fresh grad, right, I used to think that climbing the corporate ladder was the goal, like it was the blueprint for success. But over time, I realized that it's not the only path. And honestly, it might not even be my path because I think there's a lot of opportunities and avenue nowadays. And if you are someone who is flexible and have the competence to try different career paths, then the more it is harder as well to just stick into that one career path. So for me, I guess I would say more like personally, success isn't really about titles or moving up a ladder. It's more about feeling fulfilled and at peace with how I spend my time. Like, am I growing? Do I have freedom? And am I doing work that feels aligned with my values? Because ultimately, even if there are many roles, you can't just take any job because not all job would sit well with you or in a way that it's not gonna align your values. So for example, for me, I wanted to be initially I was considering to be a public servant, but then I learned the reality of life that it's so corrupt, right? And the more you go into that path, there might be a high chance that I will be part of the corrupt system. And so I wouldn't want that for myself. And so that's why I've decided to work in the corporate world in a private company. And that's what I've been doing now. And so I think success looks like having the flexibility to take care of your mental health, spend time with people you love, and still be proud of what you do because it aligns with your value. You are helping yourself, and at the same time, you are giving support to the company that you are working for and giving value to that organization. And that for me is very important. So for me, it's not just about the hustle culture anymore, but it's about living a life that actually feels good. And yeah, that's for me. How about you, I?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And for me, success, if it's not tied to climbing the corporate ladder, I would say that for me, success is about living a life you actually enjoy. And I know that sounds so corny and generic, but I think it has some truth to it. So, like for example, we nowadays, like if you look online, people try to avoid the 9 to 5 jobs as much as possible. Like you see people transitioning to maybe freelance work or building their own business or something. But it's not all the time that it's completely bad. Like there are still people who actually enjoy the job that requires you to climb the corporate ladder. Like that's actually some people's interests and they find that they're successful in that scenario, that environment. And so one thing might not be applicable to the other person, so what I'm getting at is in general, I think living a life that you actually enjoy. So if I'm someone who enjoys like the hustle culture, then it's my kind of success. If I'm somebody who doesn't enjoy hustle culture, so living a life that's completely away from that. So I think it's different for everybody. In general, I think success means that we think of mansions or fast cars, but that's not everybody's dream. Some people would want to retire in a farm, some would want to live by the beach, some would want to live near family, others want to travel the world. And so it's a different case for everybody. And so what I mean with living a life that you actually enjoy is if you is kind of working the job that you actually like, waking up every day and feeling like you have purpose, having enough time in the day or in the week in a month to kind of explore some hobbies that you actually like. And so that's my thoughts on it. And for me, it's about living intentionally. Um with that example that I actually enjoy my job and I'm comfortable doing it in my own home. So that already for me is success, because I see example this is just an example is I see my peers kind of working on site and I know what a hassle it is. I'm aware of what a hassle it is to commute in my city. It's very crowded and just commuting already takes like 2 or even 3 hours out of your day. So imagine like working in a job and then having to spend 2 to 3 more hours just to get home. And then getting home, you're gonna have to cook something for yourself and everything. And so just for me, enjoying my job and actually doing it in the comforts of my own home, that already is success for me. Because it's something that I actually enjoy. And so yeah, I think knowing what your values are in life, not being swayed by others, and just focusing on living an intentional life that you actually want, that you enjoy, I think that's success. So, yeah, that's my corny take on it. But that was a
Interesting. Like, I wonder if that is, we talk about hustle culture, right? I don't know if that, what both you and Jhea have described is called the woke culture, the woke culture, WOKE. Yeah. And maybe that is something that we can look at. But I'm just like, as you were saying, I'm just reflecting hustle culture versus what you talk about, living with intention, alignment, and what is important. Yeah. And sorry, back to you, Al.
Yeah, no, I think those are some common themes and topics that we discuss in our podcast. And we even like mentioned some terms that we've already discussed with previous episodes. So it's always nice to kind of revisit those and see how they're connected to basically living an intentional life and kind of dissecting the psychology behind the common problems that are arising in work nowadays. Like with this topic on bossing, we've discussed like hustle culture already. We also talked about kind of your internal thought process on kind of dissecting your own problems. And so, yeah, it's always interesting. And so, thanks everybody for your thoughts on that. It's time for a little fun. Let's play a quick game we're calling awareness or avoiding. So we'll run through some real life scenarios and decide if they're healthy ambition or people just dodging responsibility. So I have 12 scenarios here. We will decide if each of these are awareness, which is thumbs up, or avoiding, thumbs down. So are you guys ready? Okay.
Ready?
Okay, scenario number one, turning down a promotion to protect your work life balance. Awareness or avoiding? Awareness.
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 Yeah, I think this is self explanatory. We all have the same answer. Next, leaving work on time every day, even if your boss stays late. Awareness or avoiding?
Awareness.
This one in particular is very interesting to me. So just like a quick segue because I see a lot of movies where the person stays behind late because their boss also stays late. And I never gave it a second thought. I never really thought of anything about it. But now that I'm older, I'm realizing is that it's kind of like a common thing to do is to wait for your boss to finish because then your workday isn't actually finished because your boss is still there. Is that a common thing that you grew up thinking as well, Ben? I'm just curious because I've only seen this in like movies.
I think this is definitely in hustler culture, more likely in an Asian environment. Like I kind of grow up even doing internship and attachments to in that kind of environment, right? Like we look towards our boss to see whether are they done or not done. As I grow and develop in my career, I noticed that what is important is the work done and not time spent, right? Because if we just pretend to stay late and we have nothing to do, we'll be surfing internet, we'll be looking for what's our holiday destination, where should we go, what are food that we want to eat, you know. So instead of actually working. Having said that, from experience as a psychologist working in different organizations, this is still prevalent and sometimes more prevalent in different industries. We see this a lot in the professional services, lawyers, accountants, that they have this culture where working late equals to being hardworking and putting a lot of effort. So yeah, just to say that it is not just something that is in the past, it is still happening and it depends on industry and most likely company culture.
Did you want to say something, Jay?
Yeah, I would like to comment. It's not just in the movies, I actually witnessed it myself. So when I joined the company before, like I'm the one of the youngest, and then I was about to go home. And then my coworker told me, "Oh, you should not go home yet." And I was like, "Why? It's already time and we have nothing else to do." And she said, "Just stay because our boss is still there." And I said, "Oh, why?" And then I was like so loading. I did not understand because I never heard of it that it's a thing. So it was like a culture shock for me. Or yeah. And then I was like, "Oh, so are we supposed to just wait until she get up and then we go home?" And then I just stayed with her. And then I just followed her that, okay, we will stay. But we were not doing anything. So I just had to pretend doing something. Or I had to find something else to do, right? To just spend the time. But it kept happening so many times that I think it was too much. Like it wasn't needed at all. And so I told her, I think we can just approach her and tell her that we have to go now and that we're done with things. So the next time she still wanted to stay, my coworker. And then I told her, no, I'm getting up. I will talk to her and tell her I'm going because I'm done with the things. And so, because we're just all sitting in the same room, so we actually see each other. And so I just approached our boss, and then I was like, saying, Oh, hey boss, I'm already done with these things. Do you need anything from me? This and that. If there's anything more, you let me know, then I can do it. Otherwise, I will go. And then she was so chill about it, and she just said, "Yeah, you go ahead. Why are you still waiting for me?" She just said like that. And so I just went and got home. And then the rest of my coworkers who are older than me were all left there. And then I was in the door, like the glass door, and then I just smiled at them and I said, and I just waved by and smiled at them. And they were like looking at me and they I should have done the same thing. And now they're stuck there. So like after that, they learned to like just ask permission before going and then they get to go instead of just not saying anything and stay the whole. So yeah, that was kind of what happened in my experience.
Yeah, thumbs up to Jhea.
That's so funny. I've never witnessed that myself. But yeah, that's so interesting to hear from both of you. Okay, next prompt. Saying no to stretch assignments because you're already at capacity. Awareness or avoiding? I'll say awareness.
Awareness. Yeah.
Okay, next. Doing only what's in your job description, nothing more. Awareness or avoiding? I would say avoiding.
Yeah. Avoiding.
I think I think saying no to things, uh, sorry, I think saying yes to things also kind of creates an opportunity for you to learn new skills along the way. And so just kind of saying straight up that you don't want to, it seems like an avoidant behavior.
Mm.
Same thoughts. Okay, so next, not checking emails after work hours. Awareness or avoiding? Not check. See,
Yeah. Kind of.
yeah. Say avoiding. So I have a question for you guys. We talk about like setting boundaries and everything, but what are your thoughts on not checking your emails after work hours? Because I think some people also it would like mentally if their job ends at 5, they don't touch anything that's work related. So what do you think about that?
I think it's about the conversation and dialogue with your team, like how important, or rather, like after working hours, what are the chances of urgent and important things that comes in that needs to be attended? Because there are some roles and job that there's nothing urgent and important that cannot wait till the next day. So I think it depends on role. And I give you an example of like some clients that we work with. They are in shipping, right? Shipping industry, and so um, if the ship goes to the port and it doesn't matter what time of the day, they need to do the handling and they need to do the coordination because if they wait for the next working day to continue, then there's going to be a lot of disruptions and costs involved because the entire ship, that requires offloading of all the containers and stuff like that. So in roles like this, that there's time sensitive. So after working hours, there's still a need to work. But if there are other things, like client emails and stuff like that, that is nothing urgent and critical, not time sensitive, I think it's okay. So I think it depends on role and jobs. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with Ben. It actually depends on the job because there are many tasks that are time sensitive as well. Like for example, when it comes to procurement or making orders, and especially like the accounting team is just following the regular working hours, and so you would really have to like follow it ahead of time. And when it comes to making orders or like a scheduled event, like you really have to be on top of everything to make sure that the event will be a successful one on the following day. And so for me, it's more like checking the email after work just to check if there is something urgent, like just to confirm if something is urgent or not. Other than that, even if you already saw the email and it's not urgent, then you have the option to just reply when you are back on the working day or hours. But other than that, it's more like being hands on or like just trying to confirm if something is urgently needed or not. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. And so, okay, next prompt is declining to manage a team because you don't want the stress. Awareness or avoiding? I would
Mm.
say awareness.
Yeah, kind of put in the middle.
For
Yeah,
me,
Yeah.
in the
yeah, what are your thoughts on it? For me, I think not everybody wants to be a leader or is capable of being one, even though they're offered the role. And so maybe being aware that you're not fit for the role. So that was my like thought process with this prompt. How about you guys? You guys both went like middle.
Yeah. So for me, there's good stress and bad stress. So good stress is one that stretches us and energizes. And it seemed like this person doesn't have, like, I guess I'm just playing the role, the scenario in my head that this person is given an opportunity to manage a team. So it's like a stretching of what this person is doing. And so I kind of put that as neutral stress, right? Until this person actually starts to do and see if it becomes positive or negative. So without giving it a shot and without having a chance at it, it seemed like an avoiding. So that's my view on this. What about you, Jay?
Yeah, I agree with Ben. If you never tried it yourself, it's more like avoiding because there are some people who could actually lead a team. They have the potential, but they just don't know it. And if that person, your leader, sees it in you and would offer you that role, then there must be a reason why that role is being offered for you. And I think the good thing to do is to just try and see for yourself if you could actually do it or not. And that's when it become awareness because you already see it for yourself. But if you just decline it, never tried it yourself, you don't believe in yourself, even if your boss says otherwise, then it's more like being avoiding. Yeah.
Okay, next. Taking mental health leave in the middle of a big project, awareness or avoiding?
I would say like maybe I'll go first, right? Awareness if this person has a true mental health, like uh, they this person knows his or her own body and that it is really reacting to that big project. So I would say that is an awareness, and the responsible thing is to make sure that whatever that needs to be done is assigned and is communicated clearly with the rest of the team. But yeah, I if it is if this person knows that there is really a mental health challenge, then I say it's awareness. I'm curious to hear from the both of you. Yeah, who's gonna go first?
Okay. I went with avoiding just because I think like with a big, it says like on in the middle of a big project, and so I imagine that there's lots of stakeholders in this project. You being one of them, be you might be like one of the anchors as well for the project, and so kind of leaving it in the air to take a break. It for me it kind of seems like it's avoiding because maybe after the project is over or towards the end, then you can take a break, but maybe like in the middle of it seems like maybe like a bit of a rush to leave it in the air. So yeah, I just wanted avoiding because even like with what building on with what Ben mentioned, that it might take into your like your mental health. I think if it was worded differently, like if you would say that you had to take like a hospital leave or something because the symptoms took over your physical well-being, then maybe that would be reason for me to leave the project. But if it would be like mental health, leaving it in the middle of leaving your role in the middle of a big project, yeah, it just kind of seemed like avoiding. So I went with that answer. I'm curious to know your thoughts as well, Jay. I think you went middle. So we're all like
Yeah.
mixed up. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like mixed up, but it's like more avoiding for me also because when there's a project, right, there's a certain timeline that you need to follow, and that comes with planning, preparation, and actual execution of the event. Now, if that person would exit the project in the middle of the actual execution, and it's just like one day before the event or the big project with major stakeholders like attending or joining, I would say that is avoiding because for the most part, or like the most situation that I've witnessed in real life, like working with many people, many back out because they got so stressed on the big day. And it's because of lack of preparation and lack of planning. And I think that could have been avoided. And so for me, that becomes avoiding because it's something that you could have had control over. It's something that you could have delegated if you feel so overwhelmed with the task, something that you could have communicated with your team if you're planning this big project. And so if it's something avoidable and then you choose to leave that project during the big day, then that would come off for me as avoiding. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. This is the one prompt that we were all like mixed about. So, yeah, interesting. Okay, next. Delegating tasks you could do yourself to focus on strategy, awareness, or avoiding.
Awareness for
Or
me.
I would be, yeah, awareness as well.
yeah, I would like to comment because I think many people don't, or I guess some wouldn't understand that delegation is such an important skill, especially if you're a team member and a leader, and you know it's important to know what you are good at and know what other people are good at, and so you would have this like synergy among the team. And if you have that skill to delegate tasks from to those people who actually do it better, then that would make everything easier for you and the rest of the team. Because many people, they would just accept everything, right? Even if they're not sure, they don't know, because they want to impress the team or they feel responsible for it. They would just accept it. And even if they're already overwhelmed, they wouldn't delegate the task because they take it upon themselves to feel responsible. But being able to delegate tasks is very important. And it just relates with having teamwork in a team. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree as well. So next, saying no to a race because it comes with added responsibilities, awareness or avoiding.
Aware.
Yeah, awareness as well. Okay, next.
But who can say no
Take,
to a race? But yes, certainly awareness.
okay, next. Taking a break between jobs instead of jumping into the next role, awareness or avoiding. Number 10. I think awareness.
Awareness.
Yeah.
I would say if you can avoid taking a break between jobs instead of jumping to the next role. So I think just like that one factor to consider. Okay, next. Prioritizing passion projects over climbing the corporate ladder. Awareness or avoiding?
Awareness.
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 This is the last prompt. Taking a gap year mid career to find yourself. Awareness or avoiding? Awareness. So I'm curious about this. What are your thoughts on this, Ben?
I think the like okay, so gap year to find yourself mid career. Uh, like I find that it's avoiding because you don't need to take a gap year, right? You can be exploring in projects or participating in different things, and sometimes, or rather, a lot of people prioritize finding yourself as the goal, but a lot of times in our process of finding ourselves, it starts from knowing what we don't want instead of knowing clearly what we want, right? So it's a different perspective of things that if I start eliminating all the things that I've done up to this mid-career stage, what are the things that I don't want, and then um, which leaves me with what are the things that I haven't tried yet or what are the things that I want. And if there's very little in that bucket of things that I want, and then there's more things of things that I haven't tried yet, then that next stage or transition could be to explore things that I haven't tried yet instead of taking a gap year in career. So that's my view. That's why I put it as avoiding. Yeah. So just eliminating what you don't want and looking at what else is left. What do I like? If I have very little, I like. What have I not tried yet? And then let me try those things that I haven't tried. Yeah. So that's my take. And both of you agree, right? And let's hear what agreeing. Any comments?
Yeah, I just went with awareness because just thinking from a different perspective as well as they might be taking a gap year to maybe because it was caused by having a breakdown or like a life crisis in the middle of a high pressure career or something. And so maybe just like taking a break for
Mm,
themselves. I've seen it a lot happen as well on YouTube. People leave their high stress accounting or lawyer jobs and then they take like 6 months for a sabbatical, which I didn't even know what a sabbatical meant before watching like these videos. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So yeah, I went with awareness just because I've seen some of those videos and then I saw this prompt and I was thinking maybe, yeah, they just wanted to take a break from a high stress job or something. But yeah, what are your thoughts, Jaya?
Yeah, I think when I hear it like taking a gap mid-year to find yourself, it's more like having a midlife crisis as well. Like I could imagine some people work in the same industry or career path for over 20 years, and then suddenly they realize that, oh, I don't enjoy it anymore, and then they would like take a break for a year to like find themselves, or I guess enjoy the things that they wanted to do but never had the chance to do it because they were so focused on their career. And so that's why I think it's awareness if it's in that sense, because I think many people like just went into the career world without having really that time to reflect what they actually wanted, and it just came and they ride along with it for so many years. And then after some time they grow up, they matured, they've had like different thoughts in their head and had different priorities, and then they had to like wake up one day and think that, oh, I want to do something. It's just that they couldn't figure it out yet. They still had to like explore in which they haven't done before. And so I think it's awareness.
Okay. I agree with both of you on what you said.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for everyone participating with that fun little game that we have. So now let's wrap this up with some practical advice. What's one thing our listeners can take away from this topic now that we discussed the psychology and even like playing a game all about unbossing? So, what's a practical or actionable takeaway that you can leave our guests? Jaya, maybe we can start with you.
Okay, well, for me, I guess if there's one thing I'd say, it's redefining what success means for you. Not what it looks like on LinkedIn, not what your parents expect, what but what actually feels good and sustainable for you. Because many would say that success is to be like climbing the ladder. When it comes to material things, getting a house, car, or having to travel all around the world. But then many people make bad financial decisions because of that, because everyone is following the trend. And so for me, it starts with really knowing yourself, your values, your priorities, and what kind of life you actually want to build. Because when you are clear on that, it would be so much easier to make decisions that protect your peace and keep you grounded. You don't have to wait until burnout hits you to make changes. And if something doesn't align with the life you want, it's okay to walk away, even if it looks like a big opportunity on paper. It's okay to say no, even to a promotion. It's okay to say no to a big travel you cannot afford. It's okay to say no and to buying a house. It's okay to say no and having kids. But ultimately, it's about knowing what's good for you and what you like. Just because you're not chasing a hustle that is 24/7 doesn't mean also that you are not ambitious. It just means that you are being intentional, and that is willpower, and that is success in a personal sense.
So I had a very similar actionable takeaway from Jaya as well. Mine was also redefine your version of success, which is like very similar. So I'm um giving away a another actionable takeaway, which is I would say to be clear on your values because I think your values affect your actions in life. And so if you value status, money, high pressure environment, then feel free to chase those things. But also, if you value comfort, family, community, then do that as well. I wouldn't say that one thing is particularly bad over the other. I don't think any of these things are bad. It all kind of depends on your priorities. And so I think having the confusion between chasing a career or doing this, doing that, I think for me, it stems from having confusion on what you want in the first place. And so maybe being clear on your values and your priorities, that inevitably affects your actions and what you want to do in life. So that's one actionable takeaway from myself. Yeah. How
Mm.
about you, Ben?
Yeah, and I think adding on to what Jia talked about of redefining success and what he talked about clarity of values, I think um, one of the one of the reasons that we see why people want to unboss is maybe borderline burnout or they feel so stretched, and so if that is a possible reason, then acronym time, like what we love at Idol. So it's about getting rest, right? Getting rest. And rest not just in the sense of me resting, but R is to reflect before you say yes, right? To just take a pause and reflection to think whether is this aligned to my values or just a default hustle because everybody else is doing it, just like what Al talked about. And E in rest is to evaluate your energy and your capacity. And I think these two things are important, energy and capacity, because energy tells us whether Are we in a right direction? Is it things that I find fulfillment in? Do I feel energized by it? Capacity is about skills, right? About our aptitude and whether I have the competencies to achieve that. So knowing my energy and my capacity. And sometimes capacity may be low, but energy high. And because of that high energy, it gives us the drive for us to learn more, to put in more time for us so that we can increase that knowledge gap. And S in rest is to set boundaries clearly and kindly, right? Kind to yourself. Protect your time, your rest, and your focus. And the last one, T in rest, is to trust yourself, right? Because all of us, every single one of us, have value. We are worth something. And our worth is not measured by how much we do, but it's by how true we stay to ourselves, right? That's we have clarity about my identity and my role. And I think that's enough, instead of chasing more and more. So that's what I have as an actionable takeaway: to rest, right? To reflect before you say yes. E is to evaluate your energy and your capacity. And S is to set boundaries clearly and kindly to yourself. And T is to trust yourself. So that's me, long-winded Ben, the psychologist. Back to you, Al.
Yeah, thanks everyone for sharing your insights and stories today. And yeah, this was a very interesting topic. I think this is one of the first episodes where we all came in not knowing what unbossing is. But thanks for everybody's time, spending an hour just kind of talking about what it is, how we can avoid it, or how we can deal with it. And so, yeah, thank you for your time, your insights, and your stories. That's it for today's coffee break. Thanks for hanging out with us in the break room. Don't forget to share this with your favorite work buddy. And if you have had thoughts, rants, or feels, slide into our DMs. We're at iGrow Online on most platforms. Otherwise, also leave a comment below. And remember, your well being matters even between meetings. Catch you next time. Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.